Hello again. So I wanted to respond to all the recent Kanye West drama. Obviously he did his whole DEFCON 3 tweet, got kicked off Twitter, kicked off his bank account, I guess, at JP Morgan Chase, even though that may have been before the whole JewISH thing. And I watched his interview with Revolt TV. I guess it's like a hip hop interview YouTube channel or something. And they have over 1 million subs. I watched the whole thing and was gonna reply to some of the clips because it was over 3 hours long, and I was gonna look at some of the clips and go over it a bit. But I just saw today and their YouTube channel deleted the video, and it had well over 1 million views after a day. So that's kind of unfortunate. You could still find some clips around of the interview, and on BitChute I think there's 45 minutes of it, so maybe I'll include a couple clips into this video. But first I just want to say it was definitely bullshit to kick him off Twitter. It just, at the end of the day, that kind of stuff just looks bad.
My whole point just off the tweet, the fact that, what does that even mean what I said? And the fact that I got taken off proves my point.
Even though I'll say on Twitter, if you say the N-word or the F slur or something, or if you make fun of basically any minority group besides white men, you'll probably get kicked off after time, especially if you have a lot of followers and a lot of eyes on you. So this whole meme of figure out who rules over you by who you can't criticize or whatever, I don't think it means black trannies control everything, because you can't make fun of them on Twitter or whatever. But yeah, just to I guess generally respond off the top of what he said in the interview. I mean, he he bluntly talks about the Jewish media, he uses that phrase a bunch.
Trump had enough connections to make it into office, but he didn't have the Jewish media on his side, because the Jewish media was already aligned with the agenda, with the left, with the Chinese, completely in line with the agenda of the left, the Jewish media, and the Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese things got something to do with it.
Talks about Jews, he screams into the mic about Jews multiple times in the interview. So it's pretty blunt and direct, which overall fuck it, I think it's kind of a good thing to just have a direct, upfront conversation about these kind of things. I mean, myself on Twitter, I'll just bluntly respond to people who talk about JQ stuff. In my Twitter bio, I just put unironic Jewish Internet Defense Force, because that's essentially what I fucking am. So I think, in a sense, I'm kind of glad this is happening, because it's best to just have things out in the open and just be honest and blunt about shit. I think it seems to me that every couple of years, ever since around 2016, at least from when I've been paying attention, is there's every couple of years there's something that brings Jews and the JQ into the mainstream, even though it's kind of all, it's always talked about a bit on certain aspects of the internet. But right now, obviously, it's in the major news, just how it was in the news all over when there was synagogue shootings and shit. So if anything, I think this is a call to the fellow Hebes out there to really get on your shit and join me in my unironic JIDF quest to counter this kind of shit. Because honestly, the people who propagandize against us, they never fucking stop. And all the dumb orgs like the ADL and Stop Anti-Semitism, all they do is fucking kvetch. And it's better to just head on directly without making some humorous kind of deflection. Yeah, but in regards to the interview itself, Kanye says a bunch of shit how black people have always been signed to Jewish record companies, record label companies, and Jewish basketball owners and shit.
I gotta tell you something. Where is a black guy that has a Jewish person signed to him? Point it out. Tell me that. Where is a black person that's signed to a Jewish person? All of them. Basically 90% of them.
And I think there is definitely truth to that. And I mean, I think a reason for that is because, at least in the music industry back in the day, it's kind of a legacy thing, but a lot of Jewish people would sign black people when other people wouldn't. But even beyond that, I mean, that wasn't really the case for rap and hip hop, and that's what mainly he's talking about. But it's kind of ironic that Kanye has this kind of oh, get off the Democrat plantation, they just think blacks are victims mentality, but then he switches from that to basically just adopting a different type of victim mentality of oh, the Jews make the black people talk about fucking bitches and killing other people, killing other black people.
Even the information put in our music, the toxicity put in our music, is nothing promoting the idea of a king taking care of a queen and then taking care of the future kings and the future queens. It's just us talking about killing each other and Jewish people getting paid off of it.
And that's why black people do this shit, and it's just to make Jews money. To be honest, I think the dude should just take personal responsibility. I don't think every lyric he's said, rapped about or whatever, is because some Jew is telling him to do that shit. I think, most hip-hop dudes, they rap about shit that they do or that they like to do or whatever, and they know it sells. The record company knows it sells. Kanye West can make an album called Jesus is King, no problem. And especially nowadays, you don't even need a record company, really. because everything is like digitized. And I mean, back in the day in the 90s, you kind of needed a label. It's just like how basketball players, they need a team, they need an owner, they need an arena. So I don't see like why he's complaining about black people like still making a bunch of money, but like obviously record companies and agents and shit need to make money. And if they're Jewish and they know how to do business, I mean, I guess there's going to be problems and shit that arise. But I mean, at one point he says like, "Oh, I forgive the Jewish culture for fucking over black people in the music industry and like making money off of them. I forgive the Jewish people for that, and I forgive the Jewish culture."
I forgive the left party. I forgive the Jewish media for creating the Ye's crazy narrative and, buying up the black voice and bullying us and creating a mob culture to scare people that anytime they bring up that a contract was wrong is labeled anti-Semite as a way to disable people from their truth. I forgive the Jewish culture for that.
Like, okay, by that same token, should we forgive the black culture for committing most of the violent crimes disproportionately? I mean, I could go full American Renaissance. Everyone knows the crime statistics. Like, people talk about like, oh, everyone knows like the Jews control everything, which like, I want to do some videos on like the media and shit later. So we'll see. I mean, I think definitely disproportionately. But okay, like let's look into black crime statistics. I mean, I don't think it's all the fault of the Jews that black people commit a bunch of crimes. I mean, I'm trying to be fair to them. I'm not a total race and IQer guy. I used to be, but I think there's a lot of other things that go into that. So I don't know why Kanye has to go into this like weird like, oh, it's part of the culture and like I want Jewish kids to look to their Jewish parents to ask why Kanye is mad at all the Jews. I mean, that's like what he said in the interview.
I'm not narrowing down. I want Jewish children to look at their daddy and say, why is Jay mad at us? I want all the kids that love my shoes and love my songs to say, why is Jay mad? What have you done to his people, to the darker Jews, to our brothers, that has Jay speaking up, that had Nick Cannon speaking up, that had Ice Cube speaking up? What'd you say?
I wish Revolt TV still had it up, but whatever. And also, like, people probably saw this on Twitter, but like he was also like, or people were just making fun of like, he basically said that Kim Kardashian having sex with Pete Davidson and like them, I don't know, like it being public is a part of like a Jewish Zionist plot or something, like the Jewish Zionist media.
Kim is a Christian. On TMZ, I just saw yesterday, they said Pete Davidson and Kim have sex by the fireplace to honor their grandmother. It's Jewish Zionists that's about that life, that's telling this Christian woman that has 4 black children to put that out as a message in the media. So when I...
Like, dude, your girl is a whore. Like, that has nothing to do with Jews. And like, he's talking about like how Kim Kardashian is this like Christian woman. I mean, no, she's not. She obviously doesn't practice very consistently. I mean, she made a fucking sex tape with that other guy and fucks Pete Davidson. Like, Kanye has fucked plenty of like other shit. Like, this is like ridiculous. I mean, speaking of kvetching, it sounds like I'm just complaining now, but it's just funny, like, he's going from one, like, you know, victim mentality to another. It's like, oh, like, whites are keeping blacks down, into, oh, it's just the white Jews keeping the blacks down. But, like, dude, take personal responsibility of your own shit. He was talking about in the interview about how he wants, like, an open, like, Jews to own up to shit. Like, okay, like, let's have an honest conversation about that. But, you know, let's have an honest conversation about black people and, like, race stuff. I mean, that's what a lot of these, like, wingnats want and white nationalists want. But then, of course, when Kanye starts talking about Jews, they overlook that and, oh, he's king. But, like, okay, like, have a black dude as your leader, I guess, as a white nationalist. I don't fucking know. But, and whatever. I mean, I'm kind of just ranting. He says, like, in the interview that he's, like, jealous of Jewish culture. He's jealous that Jewish people don't, like, abort their children and get married and stay in marriages, blah, blah, blah. Like, the typical kind of not what the black family does in this country.
There's multiple people that are leaders in this community, right? And I'm jealous of the Jewish community. I'm jealous of how the fact that they do not abort their people. I'm jealous of how the fact. So when I say that, I'm saying it right. It's coming out. Let me say it, bro. It's coming out. It's coming out. Let me say it. You have to get to it. I'm jealous of the fact of how they don't abort their babies. I'm jealous of the fact of how they stay with their wives. I'm jealous of the fact of how they do business together. I'm jealous of the fact of how they read their contracts and understand their contracts. I'm jealous of the way Jewish people do business. And I'm jealous not just for me, but for our entire culture.
But at the end of the day, it just seems like he's blaming people or blaming Jews for like the failure of the black family and like black people getting aborted and shit. Like at one point he remarked how some like Jewish dude was like, "Oh, Kanye, like I want to take you to the Holocaust Museum, so maybe you'll be like more sensitive." And he's like, "Oh, go to Planned Parenthood. That's our Holocaust."
I want you to visit the Holocaust Museum. And I was like, "Yo, I want you to visit Planned Parenthood. That's our Holocaust Museum."
It's like, just don't get abortions, dude. Like it's not that hard. Use a rubber. I mean, no one's pushing this shit on black people. If you want to say people are pushing that, it's kind of like the argument of video games make people violent. Like that's bullshit. And I think same with like hip hop, like the classic, you know, gangbanger hip hop stuff. That doesn't make anyone violent. I used to listen to Wu-Tang Clan talk about like sewing people's asshole closed and feeding them until they burst open and like crazy karate shit. It doesn't mean that Wu-Tang is like gonna make me violent. Like this is fucking dumb. at the end of the day, it's like really, this whole thing isn't really unique. Like, there's been plenty of black rappers and shit who have talked about Jews and like said this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't seem like it's gonna go away too much because he keeps getting canceled, for lack of a better word. So then he's just gonna like want to talk about it more and more, which is fine. Like, let's just talk about it. I don't think, you know, eventually it'll go away like anything else in the news, but, you know, there's always going to be these types of things that keep popping up. And I don't know, we may as well like respond as Jewish people. Like, why not? Like, it's annoying to like just see people complain about it or make a dumb joke about it. Like, let's just like fucking go up, see the truth behind things. If some of the JQ stuff is right, okay, accept it. If some of it's wrong, reject it. If anything, I just think it's a good opportunity to get on this. So yeah, don't really have much else to say. I don't know. I feel like I'm just saying like very basic bitch talking points, but this is what we've been reduced to. So yeah, gotta make some more videos on shit. If anything, it just puts Jews in the news more. People got Jew on the brain, so someone's got to respond to this shit. And my dozens of subscribers, we can make a difference. So stay tuned.